Huskies win 73-67. They improved to 5-1 on the season. The win comes against Colorado State, by the way, in the Acrisure Invitational, and they advance to the championship game. Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful. Want to wish everybody a belated happy Thanksgiving. I hope it was a wonderful day. I am super thankful for your support. As you guys know, it's been a year. It's been a year. This was the first Thanksgiving without Mom and Skip, so that was hard. And I'm so thankful for my grandma and my sister and my cousins and my uncle and a whole bunch of people. If I'm not saying your name, it's not because I don't love you. It's because I'm recording this video at like 3:45 in the morning because I didn't get to watch the game live because I had to work, and also because, Thanksgiving. Shout out Thanksgiving food. I'm one of the few people who will tell you that Thanksgiving food, pretty good. Pretty darn good. And the Huskies at times were pretty darn good today too. It was a great transition until I called it garn good. We always start with the negatives, right? When they win. We always start with the negatives when we win and go into the positives and vice versa when they lose. So the negative here is, and it's been kind of the same thing all year, even in these W's, which there have been much more than losses through 6 games. Not a slow start this time, but a slow first half. The last 10 minutes was bad basketball. Bad. From both teams, from both the Huskies and from the Rams. But the Huskies in particular really struggled. And we'll talk about the good from that. And also, thank goodness Colorado State didn't play well, because this would have been a loss for the Huskies if they played remotely well over those final 10 minutes of the first half. And the reason why they struggled, I think, my humble estimation, is the guard play is just not good enough right now. It just isn't doing a good enough job initiating the offense and making shots. It'd be nice to see a guard finally make above 47%. But there's so many of these 2 for 6, 1 for 4, 2 for 7. It's just not good enough. The only guard who played well in terms of making his shots was Makai Mason, and he plays all of 12 minutes. You got to play better at that guard position. It's it's just basketball now. Guard play dominates. Tournament success. Look at the guards. Having great forwards, literally, in the Huskies case, is great. But you have to get quality guard play, or you will not win. If the Huskies guards are playing like this in Big Ten basketball games, they will not win very many. They just won't. There's too many quality teams, and you just have to initiate better offense. Now, we'll talk about the other side in the second half, but offensively, these guards are just not playing up to snuff. My only other negative here is, and this is not a rant, but it's basically a side tangent. We don't need to play basketball on Thanksgiving. We don't need to play football on Thanksgiving. We don't play baseball on Thanksgiving. We don't need Thanksgiving basketball. And in particular, we don't need college sports on Thanksgiving. We just don't. And I have watched so much college basketball this week for Feast Week, as they love to call it. They just call it that anyway. I don't know if they love it or not, but they call it that. And there have been some phenomenal college basketball games, and I have loved it. But it's fine for me playing on Tuesday. It's fine for me playing on Wednesday. It's even fine for me playing over the weekend. History, all that, we don't need sports on Thanksgiving. That is just my hot take. We don't need it. What we do need is simply Seattle, because they provide the very best in Seattle sports gear. I promise you I did not rehearse that. But they have awesome stuff for the Huskies, of course. But the Mariners, the Kraken, the Seahawks, the Sounders, the Storm, you can find it all And once you find it all, use code MOLLYWOP15, MOLLYWHOP15. It takes 15% off your order. It's a great deal from great people. I'm recording this on Black Friday. I cannot imagine that they don't have a great deal. Now, if they don't, I apologize, and use 15%, your 15% off code to save a very strong amount of money. A strong amount of money? That's not a thing. Save a lot of money. Save a lot of money. So MOLLYWHOP15, simplyseattle.com. Really appreciate it. Link in the description to make it nice and easy for you. Okay, so the negatives were that we mentioned that they didn't play well over the last 10 minutes of the first half. They played really well to begin this game, and that was nice to see because the Huskies have gotten off to some terrible starts. That wasn't really the case against a pretty good team. Now, not a great team. We're not talking about a Colorado State team that's probably going to win the MWC, maybe not even a tournament team, but a solid basketball team with good players and good coaching. Got off to a really good start. 13-4 lead, I believe. That was great to see. It was awesome to watch a basketball team that I root for from the tip-off play cohesive basketball. Now it stopped. That's not good. It's going to happen, right? You can't play a perfect 40 minutes in any sport, especially college basketball. It's a flawed sport. I love it to death. Flawed as all heck. In part because quality of play can wane quite a bit. And we saw that. We definitely saw that. But it was a very strong start. And while the offense really struggled over those final 10 minutes, I thought the defense did a very nice job throughout the game. Creating turnovers, one guy in particular, who we will, of course, talk about near the end. I think that they did a really strong job defensively. Probably the second best defensive game, or no, not the second best, the best defensive game that they've played. When you consider the opponent, the location, and all that stuff, but just watching them defensively, I thought this was the most cohesion, the best on ball, the best defending the three. All of it was the best that I saw. Creating block shots, creating block shots is a weird way to put it, but blocking shots. They did a solid job. 41%, certainly have seen lower field goal percentage, but they've played crappy teams. Those crappy teams are, of course, going to shoot worse. Holding a pretty good Colorado State team to what they did. And I know they just lost to UC Riverside and they got their butt kicked by, I think it was Ole Miss. It's a better basketball team than their record suggests and those games suggest. I will bet you Colorado State is in the middle of a good MWC at the end of the year. So that was great. I thought Zoom Diallo played a pretty solid game. Oh, you know what? Before we talk about Zoom Diallo, how about Christian King? Have not seen very much of him. Coming in, making that three, making 2 of the 3 shots. If he can be an outside help, that would be great. That would be wonderful. I still think he's more of a long-term play, but if you watched, he showed some flashes there. I thought he played a very nice little 8 minutes for the Huskies. Now, we've talked about how Makai Mason has not gotten off to the Husky start that we want. And, only the 12 minutes. The Huskies once again struggle from the free throw line, 13 for 24. But Mason made 4 huge free throws at the end of that game. That sealed the win. Not even a little bit hyperbolic there. That sealed the win. And Mason has not been great from the line. But you watch the stroke and you say, okay, that guy should be able to make free throws. That was huge. And I hope that's a confidence booster and gets him going a little bit as we get forward, or as we move forward. So yeah, Diallo. I wanted to see a little more aggressiveness from him, but I thought he played a really solid basketball game. A really solid basketball game. And I think we see what the floor with Diallo is now. You're going to see some 8 to 10 point games where he gets a couple assists, a couple boards. I'll take that. Now I need more. If the Huskies are going to be a tournament team, they need more. And we'll kind of finish on that thought. I'm not finishing now, but we will finish with that thought when I am done. uh, I think this is pretty solid. If these are the bottom feeder games for Zoom Diallo, you've got a really good player. And it's kind of interesting. I was just looking at Diallo's recruiting history, and this was a guy who was much higher ranked in recruiting um, by the pundits. Excuse me. Don't know why I didn't end there. A couple years ago, but as you get more information, as you start to fall less in love with a player and you fall more in love with another player, he started to drop. It's not like he dropped to a 3-star or anything like that, but the 5-star stuff started going away. Man, watching him, it's easy to see why he got the 5-star stuff. There's so much talent there. I want to see a little more aggressiveness, just because I trust him to create his shot more than all but 2 players on this roster right now. I don't care that he's a freshman. I want to see Zoom Diallo take more shots, and he can create them. I am positive of that. I'm much more confident in him creating a shot than any of the other guards. All due respect to Mason, all due respect to DJ Davis, who played okay. Shot didn't fall again, and by the way, missed a free throw because of course he did. 13 for 24. Yikes. Can't help but be remembered by some of the John Brockman years where that team was really good. The free throw shooting. Oof. Oof magoof, as I like to say. Stole it from Community. Yeah, I just need to see Zoom Diallo take more shots. But I thought he did a very solid job. And again, helper defensively as well. Great Osobor is just awesome. He's just an awesome college basketball player. And here's the thing, the shots still aren't falling. 6 of 10 from free throw is about what he is. It's a little less than his career mark, but I can deal with 6 of 10. I can't deal with the 7 for 15s, that type of stuff. That really hurts you. 6 of 10, 8 of 12, 10 of 14 is what you're kind of really hoping for. Getting to the line a whole bunch. But the shots aren't falling. He is so much better of a shooter than he's shown, based on what he showed last year anyway. And I can't help but think that the shots are going to start falling. The fact he's putting up significant numbers already with those shots not falling is actually really encouraging. It's extremely encouraging to see how productive he's been without actually being at his best. I mean, yeah, he gets the point total, which I already forgot, and that's okay. This is what people turn into podcasts for, right? I'm just going to hit pause until I find it. 16 points. That's great. But the 8 rebounds, which I think is one of his lowest totals this year, 7 assists. He did such a good job at finding the open man, initiating the offense. When I think of point forward, I think of a guy dribbling the basketball, and you can't see me, but I'm going between the legs, going behind the back. Yeah, you can tell from this build that I was an excellent point guard. But he's such a good passer. Such a good passer. And then 4 steals. His anticipation is so good. It's so good. Closest I've come to a swear on a Husky basketball video. Man, he's just so much fun to watch. Again, I don't think it's going to translate to the highest level unless his 3-point shot improves night and day. Now, it hasn't taken any, which kind of shows you that it hasn't improved that much. But man, he's a good college basketball player, and he's going to single-handedly, he may have already had, maybe single-handedly is too strong. He's been a major reason why they've won a couple of games. Like, major is an understatement. He's an All-American. He is an All-American. And you know what? He might not be the best Washington Husky right now, because Tyler Harris is on one. 9 of 13, 5 of 8 from 3, grabs the 8 rebounds, gets a couple of blocks, scores 24 points. This guy is a stud. And, I remember reading stuff about Tyler Harris coming out of Portland. I think we talked about this earlier, but I'll repeat it just because I like to repeat myself. There was talk about Tyler Harris being a potential first-round pick, and you take a look at the numbers at Portland and you say, what? I get it. I definitely get it. He's so long and creates those 2 blocks, like I said, can help with the rebounds, and he can shoot it. He's not going to go 5 for 8 from 3 very often. That's very hard. It's very hard to shoot 62.5% from 3. But but he can shoot it, man. And he can create his own shot. Maybe not as well as Diallo, but well enough. And that length and that ability to get to the hole, I'd like to see a little bit more of that, a little bit more dribble drive, maybe some handoffs from Osobor, you know, but you can see the star potential. And the most positive thing you can take from this Husky start, 5-1 in record is fine. They have 2 elite college basketball players. And that may sound hyperbolic. And I say hyperbolic too much, I know, but it's one of my favorite words. I don't think it is. I think Great Osobor and Tyler Harris are 2 elite top 30 college basketball players. Now, where's the third? And there, I'm not asking for a third top 30 player. We'd be talking about much different expectations. Who's going to be that third guy? Who is going to be that guy who takes this team from being an average Big Ten basketball team, which I think is what we're kind of hoping for now, and maybe the ceiling and maybe the floor a little bit too? Who could be that guy who takes them and makes them so much more? I think it's Zoom Diallo if it's going to be someone, but it could be Mason. It could be DJ Davis. I guess it could be Iheanacho. I kind of doubt it. I don't think it's Chase Butler this year, although I think he does have some definite long-term potential. But who's that third guy? Because if a third guy comes with how Osobor and Tyler Harris are playing, and I see no reason to think that they can't keep it up. None. Who is going to be that guy? Because if that third guy steps up like that, you're talking about a tournament team. You're talking about a tournament team who could do some damage. Again, I don't have expectations for that to happen. And there will be some games where Osobor is going to struggle, Tyler Harris is going to struggle, and I don't trust this team right now to be good enough to overcome it. But I think they're going to be good enough that if you can just get, I'm not asking for a 4th and 5th even. I just want a third quality, above average third player. And by above average, I mean above average for a third player. Doesn't have to be great. Doesn't literally have to be great. But they need somebody. So next up is that championship game today against Santa Clara. It'd be fun to win. And I'm not going to call it a championship. It's a tournament. It'd be fun to win this invitational. And it would be great because after that, you start Big Ten play. And then you got some weird games coming up. But taking some momentum, hate that term, but I sure would like to feel good going into Big Ten play, wouldn't you? Of course you would. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. I cannot believe this is almost a 19-minute video on a game played on Thanksgiving against Colorado State, but I can't shut up. Can't do it. Really appreciate the support. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, happy Thanksgiving and go Dogs. Tyler Harris is really good.